Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough, That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show, all social media. We try to make it as hard as possible to find us, That Kevin Show. I'm very excited to have Rachel Sheffield joining me from the Heritage Foundation. Her specialty in the research that she does is all on the issue of family, and she has her all of her degrees are in this policy arena. So it's fun to talk to an expert, Rachel, who actually knows what you're talking about. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Kevin.
You've just published what I would say is a rather sizable report. You and Delano Squires did this together, but people can see it if they go over to heritage.org. But you looked at family life at the intersection of tradition and modernity, and you've got a lot of info in this report. First, before we get into the substance of what it was about, why were you taking a look at that particular intersection?
Yeah, well, what we're seeing, we've seen a lot of trends and changes in family life in America in the last several decades, which I don't think necessarily comes as a surprise to anyone, but the purpose of the report was really just to dig into the numbers and to see what's going on with marriage rates, divorce rates, childbearing, unwed births, and how does this kind of break down along different, along lines of education and what does that mean? What will that mean for the well-being of our country going forward? I think we're really, as a nation, need to reflect on these issues, the importance and understand the importance of the family. That if we continue going down the path that we're going today, which is a path of continued breakdown and disconnection, that's going to have major implications for our future generations. And so the purpose of this report is really just to provide an overview, a sketch of the American family today, and to kind of call us call out the importance of the need to really strengthen the family.
I know there's a lot of, particularly in urban centers and where you have lots of young professionals and so forth, there's a lot of resistance to family formation. It's not new to Generation Z or whatever. It's been going on for a few generations, probably since the baby boomers and to present day. But you've seen an even more kind of verbose kind of boasting of, I don't know that I want kids. I don't want to form a family. Why should I have to do this? And it's kind of like exercising a right, so to speak, to say I'm going to be unattached and have no real purpose in family formation. And my question is, I've heard many times that the family unit should be the focal point of healthy societies, because it is in the family unit, the two parents parenting the children, making sure that family unit survives, thrives, reproduces itself, and gives way to the next generation. That is really kind of the building block for any type of society to thrive. Based on the trends that you've seen and that you've documented in this study, how much damage has the resistance and just kind of, I don't know, the kind of, I don't want to be told that this is what I have to do. What kind of long-term damage does that do to a nation like America, and how quickly does it do it? In a single generation, in a couple of generations? Will my grandchildren be totally uninterested in marriage and family at the rate they're going? I mean, what are we looking at in terms of long-term?
Yeah, well, you're definitely correct that we've seen we've seen these major changes. And yeah, as far as the implications go, I think really what we're looking at is greater disconnection. There is, if you look kind of starting in the 60s and 70s, you really see a major decline in marriage rates, and the birth rate particularly in the last 15 years has really dropped. We are at our lowest birth rate that we've ever seen in the United States. And so, yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean for future generations? Well, I think disconnection is the big story here. Now, when the research shows that having a healthy marriage is one of the greatest factors related to adult happiness. And it's also connected with a lot of other positive outcomes for both adults and for children. Stability is crucial for the well-being of children. And so the more that we go down this road, then we're going to have less happiness and yet less human thriving. And we hear a lot about a loneliness epidemic in the United States today, right? And a greater sense of purposelessness. And what is that really? What is that stemming from? And I would argue that the major driving factor behind that is the breakdown of the family and the failure of the formation of the family with marriage at the core.
Well, it seems so like common sense from the science kind of side of it that you need people to form families, to have kids, to create society. And yet, even just talking about it in as kind of a clinical way as what I just did, like, people take umbrage to it, and they take umbrage to it based on the idea that you're trying to put forward a religious viewpoint or a moral viewpoint on people that want to choose to live by a different code of morality. And we've seen this creep into all sorts of areas that it didn't used to creep into. When you have the Biden administration blackmailing public schools, saying you're going to push trans identity in the schools, you are thereby, from a scientific standpoint, deconstructing future families by saying you're going to go down this path and we're going to make sure that you do it. It's not as much of a gun to the head as the China's one-child policy was, but it kind of ends up in the same place, does it not?
Yeah, when we have these conversations, and it's not even just, we right now in the nation, we're dealing with this question of transgenderism. Even, what is a male, what is a female, right? And that conversation has stemmed from just past questions about even what is our relationship to one another as men and women, what is our purpose, and this loss of the idea that that being mothers and fathers is a very significant part of being
Human.
Of being human, and of continuing our to continue to perpetuate. Of course, I mean, it's not the only thing, but that is a core piece of who we are. And so, yeah, I think that the further we get away, the more individualized that we become, the less happiness is there. And so I think that one of the positive points on this is that these things are the truth, the reality that we are that we thrive in families, is what I am hopeful about, that will prevail in this. If you look at data, still most Americans who are unmarried do want to get married. There's been some decline there, but most do, and so that's positive. I think the problem is, though, that the infrastructures to enforce and to strengthen and to help people get there have really dwindled, particularly in some communities. So if we
Well, let's talk about that. We're going to take a quick break and come back. We're speaking with Rachel Sheffield of the Heritage Foundation. Her primary area of study and focus in her fellowship there is on family and the impact that policy has on that. Fascinating, big study that she's just co-released with another author. It's at heritage.org, and you can go see that for yourself.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.